All right. Good morning, everybody. Thank you once again for joining us on another episode of the podcast. And today I have a phenomenal guest with me. I have Dr. Shadrach Men, and he is the founder of Vet Konect. And so we're going to be talking about bridging the animal health gap in Africa through digital innovation. And so before we start out the conversation, I would like to read out Dr. Shadrach's bio so you get to know him better. And so you just know the kind of person that he is whilst we have the conversation this morning. Dr. Shadrach is a veteran, a social entrepreneur, and a digital innovation leader with over 8 years of experience spanning across animal health, agriculture, youth empowerment, and sustainable development. He is the founder of Vet Konect, a pioneering digital animal health platform that connects livestock farmers and pet owners across Nigeria and other African countries with accessible animal health care. He is the bold visionary. He is the bold visionary. He's the bold visionary of His bold vision is to provide animal health care coverage for 5 million Africans by 2030. He's passionate about youth development. Dr. Shredder currently serves as a community manager, lead at Mind the Gap. Wow, he's a lead at Mind the Gap, where he trains and mentors over 30,000 young people in digital skills, entrepreneurship, and community leadership. His efforts in Nigeria's youth SDG network is impactful in national programs such as Youth Dialogue 2019, SDG Playbook, and the Skills for Employment program, impacting 90 youth across 3 states. In 2012, he led the Benue Agribusiness Innovation Hub project, establishing the first agro-based innovation hub in the state, which empowered over 600 rural farmers and supported 25 agri-tech innovations with funding and development support. His work has earned him several recognition, including the Mandela Washington Fellowship in 2023, uh, Pamukja Founders Fellowship in 2024, and being named the top agropreneur uh, pioneer by the World Food Prize Foundation. Wow. I must say that your resume is quite impressive.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Deeply appreciated.
Fantastic, fantastic. And it's such a delight to have you in the studio today and having this conversation with you today. So, my very first question to you is what inspired you to sort of start out Vet Connect, and how did you identify the gap in animal health care access across Africa?
Okay, thank you so much again for the opportunity to share, I would say, my story. Um, so the motivation really, I would say, has been there one way or the other, but I would say circumstances, projected it more because coming from a background of livestock farmers, my as far back as my grandmother, she was, a livestock farmer and a pork butcher. So at the time in our village, in the far 90s, I was not born at the time. My dad and herself will also tell me that, she was about the first butcher who could slaughter a pig single-handedly. My father started up his line in the medical space as a lab technologist, but again, livestock continued. So growing up, I had to help with cleaning the piggery pens, stuffing the poultry, and then somehow I made my way through to becoming to getting admission to study veterinary medicine. So it wasn't really love at first sight for the veterinary profession because I wanted to study medicine. And so, circumstances happened, and then my uncle would tell me, well, I mean, let's have you come start do a remedial because that year our entire jam center was cancelled. So just either stay at home or wait again before you write. So going for that remedial, and then eventually getting admission, I began. But in 300 level, I say I found love for vet medicine, and went through and graduated. So just to narrow down on why, because it's not like at that time I had started saying, okay, I want to do this, but it was really clear as I verged to wrapping up vet school that there was a huge animal health care gap. And I saw the challenges that animal owners were facing, either in terms of access or the challenges from losing their animals to unprofessionals, sometimes not even knowing what to do in terms of the proper processes for care. So when I looked at the number of professionals across the country, today in Nigeria we have less than 15,000 veterinary doctors dead and alive. And when you think about that in the context of Nigeria, where we have over 230 million people by estimation, or if you just narrow down even to animal ownership. So some estimates will say that half of our population own an animal, either a pet or a livestock. So when
Yeah.
you juxtapose that to the number of professionals, the gap is still huge. So,
Yeah.
but what technology has done for us is that leverage where we're able to amplify impact. So, it was me just saying, how can I be able to apply technology in a way that makes animal care more available and accessible? So, I've not talked
Mm.
about the impact it has in terms of revenue losses. I've not talked about the impact it has in terms of the impact on our public health. But again, maybe as the conversation unfolds, I will share. But the primary motivation was there's a huge gap in terms of animal care access and delivery. How can we be able to provide it? So technology for me was that platform which offered the entry point. And today I'm happy that we'll be able to achieve the modest success we're achieved and achieving so far. And maybe I'll say this before you throw the next question at me. Yesterday we successfully deployed a flagship initiative which we call the Vet Konect AfriVet Chronicles. And this is simply
Wow.
just a platform that is seeking to bring different voices across the African continent. So
Mm.
our stories might be different or diverse in their nature, but fundamentally, the story is the same. So, listening yesterday to professionals in Ghana, in Cameroon, in Rwanda, in Zimbabwe, I think close to 7 countries for the first episode, sharing their stories was really remarkable. And it just reminded me that this is exactly the reason why I said Vet Konect needs to happen and stand as that symbol for what animal care must represent for the African continent. So yeah,
Wow, that's beautiful. It's
thank
just
you.
amazing to just hear how the work you are doing is just evolving. With each day passing year, it's just evolving, and you're just seeing how much you can also create that impact beyond the borders of where you are across
Mhm.
Africa. So that's really, really good. Really, really good. I like how
Yeah.
you started out in answering the first question, which was you had, leverage on data to see what was missing, like the
Mhm.
numbers of vets around and across. Okay, matching it that to the population as I go. There's no way we'll be able to do that except we leverage on technology. It was
True.
really good that you took out that initiative and then started out to do that. So my very next question to you at this time is um, how does digital innovation, like your platform, which is Vet Connect, practically works in rural setting where there's like no internet, no technology literacy, So how does that work in those kinds of regions?
Yeah. Thank you again. So my philosophy for the use of technology has always been for it to be contextual, and I say this to mean that no matter how amazing you build a platform that maybe functions on Android or iOS, if the target person who you are saying should use that platform doesn't have, the right skill sets in terms of no, the right tool sets, not skills, tool set, it won't work. And I'll
True.
explain. If you look at again data of the number of smartphone ownership in Nigeria, I think the last I saw is less than 50 million. I think,
Mhm.
subject to verification. But if you look at the number of SIM ownership in terms of how many people own SIMs, meaning that how many people own phones, whether they are smart or future phones, it's above 200 million.
Mhm.
So what that means is that while the smartphone penetration, which is of course very critical side by side with internet infrastructure, meaning that if you have a smartphone in a village that doesn't have access to internet, and what you need to do requires the internet, there's nothing for you, So
True.
we now need to ask ourselves that for where we are, if a solution, for instance, is targeting the rural community and is going to be mobile driven. So it's a thinking that because when we started, the first version was purely relying on our smart devices. So we had to
Oh,
now, factor in, for instance, the livestock farmers in rural communities that don't have access to the internet. And that's when we now built a USSD that, because we know that in terms of penetration, it's happening. There are network maths. So in my village, even though somebody doesn't have a smartphone, he can make a call. So if the person can make a call, the person can do a USSD cash transfer, then the person should be able to also do a USSD request for animal care services. And then there's something else we did, which is also another future of the Vet Konect platform, called the Vet Konect Early Learning and Warning System. So this is a combination of different approaches, and one of the ones that we use, especially for rural communities, is the targeted notifications, which comes via SMS and USSDs. So
oh wow.
it's not bringing anything extra, but saying, what does the farmer whom we are targeting have in their hand at now? So we
Mm,
don't care whether it's a smartphone or not. Once it's a device that can be able to receive and also send, then we can be able to leverage that. And this really applies to several other platforms. And we are not the pioneers of this. We see the fintechs have been able to penetrate across rural communities because they understand what it means to say, imagine buying smartphones to give every single person because you want to use that as an entry point. So
mm,
for us, it's about what can we do that is not extra burden on the
mm.
farmer or on our target audience. So that has been my strategy every time, to say that who is the target audience, what is the approach. But be that as it may, the good thing is that we can, bearing all factors constant, we can argue that technology will not advance backward, meaning that
True.
internet penetration is going to only keep increasing. And we see what Elon Musk is doing in terms of, breaking the barriers around with Starlink. I know that it will get to a point where it's so affordable that rural communities, we have seen that happen across rural communities in other countries. We're sure it will
Yeah.
happen here. So
Yes.
while we move on that steady path, our expectations will be that in terms of broadband penetration, aside from just mobile phone calls, should also
Yeah.
increase, because with that, because USSDs are limited in their way, so they can only provide a certain level of access for you. So
True.
meaning that once they have access to internet, because even those in rural communities are buying smartphones, so it's just a matter of,
Mm,
if they have access to all of that internet, it makes it easier. And the good thing is, these things don't require you to go and pick up an extra degree. That's the good thing
yes.
about being able
Very
to
true.
learn skills. Yeah, the
Yes.
farmer in the village who has a smartphone just needs to be told what to do with it, and the person will be able to do
True.
it. So yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that's my ideology around addressing, especially for underserved or rural communities that have limited infrastructure as far as internet penetration.
Mm, beautiful, beautiful. I know that, the work that you're doing with Vet Connect, there would have definitely been a lot of learning curves for you. Like when you
A lot.
started out, some of some of the mistakes you made, some of the things you would have done differently. So my next question to you at this time is, what are some of like the key lessons that you learned, from building a tech-driven solution in a traditional offline industry like vet care? What are some of the
Mm.
lessons?
Yeah. So the thing about farmers, and not just farmers, the different stakeholders in the animal health ecosystem, and I would
Okay.
name the livestock farmers, the pet owners, the animal health professionals, who are comprising of the veterinary doctors, the veterinary paraprofessionals, the community health workers,
Okay.
the vendors, is that um, if a problem, if someone holds on to a solution that is serving an interest for them, and it's,
Mm,
I think, general human behavior, they sometimes are reluctant to move away from that, except the evidence is very convincing. So there are a lot
Yeah.
of processes and practices in the animal health ecosystem that are downright wrong.
Mm.
The way farmers use antibiotics, the menace of quackery, um, and sometimes even as professionals, the way maybe we handle data and all of that. But
Mm.
if it's maybe serving an interest, well, someone will be, like I said, reluctant to change. So I would say we are taking it one step at a time.
Yeah.
Because we felt just bring a solution and everyone's going to jump on it. But no, there has been a huge layer of awareness creation. We have
Mm-hmm.
our social impact arm, which is heavily powered by our Vet Konect champions. So these are a set of young people, university graduates, university students, within Nigeria and outside Nigeria, who are passionate about the share our vision, and they do a lot of awareness creation at grassroots. We leverage our
Yeah.
social media platforms to do that. So it's about trying to say, to leverage the theory of positive deviance, where we're saying this practice is not the best for you, then we'll
Yes.
offer what we say is a superior alternative. So I
Mm-hmm.
believe that the trends are better. I think everyone is malleable to change, especially when the
Mm.
evidence is positively overwhelming. So it's that reality we're holding on to and pushing one step at a time. But we're hoping that, again, as well, resources are also assessed. And let me use this case in point. Think about Temu. I didn't know about Temu till last year. It's the only place Temu has not marketed to me is in my dreams. They're all over the
I'm
place.
telling you.
So, so it's the same thing for us too, to say that as resources come and we are more strategic and more intense about our advocacy and marketing efforts, people would see that it's way better, doing a particular approach that was suggesting as to some of the traditional processes that have truly not been productive, especially when it comes to animal diseases. Because once you say someone is sick or an animal is sick, it becomes a race against time. So
Mm.
those are some of those realities we're countering, and also working through the problems as we move on.
Mm. Beautiful, beautiful. You know, uh, one of your sort of aim, for Vet Connect in the next 5 years is that you're aiming to provide animal health care coverage for over 5 million Africans by 2030. So,
Mhm.
my question now is, what are some of like the strategic steps that you're taking to help scale towards that goal?
Yeah, again, thank you. So for me, I am big on partnerships and collaborations. And I say this because most times when we start off, there's that temptation of, I can do this alone. I'm going to reinvent the wheel. And there's a sense in which what they say, if it's not broken, don't fix it.
Yeah.
Collaboration is, like they say now, the new competition. And
Yes,
I
it
believe
is.
it's 100%. And so the strategy for me is leveraging the existing systems to be able to achieve this. And let me give you some use cases. When we say that we are bringing veterinary professionals together, all of these people bring with them their networks. In
Yes.
Because as a professional, you are providing these services not to yourself, but to a network of livestock farmers and pet owners. Then we have structural systems like um, telecommunication organizations, MTN, Globe, Airtel, Etisalat. Think for a minute, if Vet Konect was to partner with MTN, think about the huge database that MTN naturally is sitting on.
Mm.
So we are just simply going to layer a service on it. Think about if this was Glow, think about if it was Airtel, think about if it was Etisalat. We are simply just going to layer a service on it, which is animal care. And 5 million will now sound like a joke.
Yeah.
So what I advocate for on a daily basis, and that's why I keep the same thing for financing. We did a survey that spanned across more than 100,000 livestock farmers. And we
Mm.
have farmers who, out of that, 60% don't patronize banking services. So imagine if we used the channel of bringing in livestock farmers who are underserved financially into a banking system that uses the strategy of we are going to handhold you and walk you through a journey rather than
Yeah.
saying come and open an account and deposit. So that the
Mm.
motivation for the farmer to come on board is that there's a path of growth for the person. So that the farmer that
Yes.
comes that opens that account is now financially captured, and then you provide some support at the person. So this is me also saying that in terms of financing, we can rethink financing to solve the challenges in terms of animal care. Those are numbers
Yeah.
in themselves. Think about insurance. How many smallholder
Mm.
farmers understand insurance? When I think about insurance, even as Shadrach, because of what movies have done to me, I always sometimes think about them as people that rip people off. It's not the
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
truth. It's just this perception. So
Yes.
how can insurance companies rethink insurance in a way that speaks to the reality of the livestock farmer who is at the bottom of the pyramid, that
Yeah.
makes the person possible to say, I am willing to part away with 1,000 or 2,000 or even 5,000 because I see what this does for me in the long run. So it's a
Yes.
lot of patience to understand the system and then grow with it. So the journey to 5 million for me is, I see it as a very achievable goal
Okay.
that can be achieved off the back of partnerships. And that's why, like, I threw out some names like MTN, Glo, Airtel, and what that can do. And I'll give you an example. You report this UNICEF initiative.
Yeah.
I volunteered for them actively in 2017, 2018. And you report for me in my books is a success story because of what that did in terms of correcting, because it provides some vital tips in terms of healthcare. And during
Yes.
COVID, precisely, when people were drinking salt and eating all of those things, and sometimes people died of it, those people that were on the U Report platform were getting notifications. Don't do this.
Mm.
So if you have an infrastructure, there's so much that can be layered on it. And that's why for me, I'm always big on the first thing I want to do is who else is doing this or has the foundational pool of what we're looking at so we can just introduce a layer of service to it. So this is
Mm.
me making that bold prayer that, I was actually making an application on that is consent to MTN, and I told them in that application that I have been looking for an opportunity to sit across the table with them and then push for this proposition, because a lot of livestock farmers are losing it simply because they lack the right information. Information, nothing else, just information.
Mm.
And imagine what will happen. And MTN, for instance, was a big partner with Europort to make this happen. So the journey to 5 million for me is going to happen off the back of partnerships and collaborations across the private sector and the public space. Government in itself, for instance, we have a Ministry of Livestock Development.
True.
There's because livestock, it's a huge gold mine.
Yes.
So much so that what you can do with it is unbelievable. I'm talking livestock, not even general agriculture. So it's just the opportunity to be able, like I said, have access to the right audience in terms of stakeholders, argue this home, and hopefully bring them on board to be able to do this. So with that, 5 million will be a joke, I would say.
Fantastic. Fantastic. I like how you talked about the fact that the goal is achievable when leveraging on infrastructure as well as collaborations.
Absolutely.
Beautiful. That's really good. So, from your own experience as an expert, what would you say what the role does animal health care play in Africa's food security and agricultural development narrative that people
Mhm.
often overlook?
Okay, so there's this analysis I did, I think 2 years ago.
Okay.
I just did the research just to understand the inflow of investment in the agricultural sector in the last 20 years across Africa. Then I zoned down on Nigeria. And what I found was that for every dollar that has been invested on the African continent, 65 cents goes to crops, 35 cents goes to livestock.
Mm.
So agriculture generally, it's a no-brainer that is heavily underfunded. But
Mm.
the situation is worse in the animal health space or the livestock space, to put it that way. But what I say we miss a lot is having the agricultural conversation and acting as if animal or the livestock sector is not part of it. If you do your if you reduce your economics to unit economics in terms of
Yeah.
comparing, think about let's say poultry. You have
Yeah.
a small set number of layers at your backyard. Put the same amount of money into crops. You would see that the value you will receive over time on the livestock is way more. I can wake up today, turn to my backyard, keep a goat to grow. If the rains are not available now, I cannot farm. So
Mm.
it's a business that is not seasonal. Secondly, a lot of rural communities, part of the challenges we are facing now in Benue, for instance, the armed invasion, the killing of farmers, what is it for? Land,
Mm.
right? But think about a situation whereby you have a small section of your house. If you're going to get substantial volume of farm produce for crops, you need hectares. With
Yes.
a very small portion, you're able to do something that can pay your child's school fees or help you sort a bill. You just put in your
Mm-hmm.
backyard, you see your goat, you can carry and sell for 50,000. The equivalent for crops is going to be more to cultivate to get that volume. So
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
these are, and I'm speaking specifically for the smallholder livestock farmer to say that a reason why a lot are in poverty is so much is wrong. But if we provide structured investment models, HEFA International has this program they call passing on the gift. You are
Mm.
giving an animal, it gives birth, you hand over the newborn to your next relative. So
Yeah.
when you wake up, you know that you must do everything possible to ensure that animal stays alive because there's a seed in it that you need to pass on to someone else. Now to
Yes.
the
Yes.
question of making
Yes.
it more sustainable. We cannot export our meat outside of Africa, outside of Nigeria today because so many things are wrong.
Mm.
The way we use antibiotics in our livestock is dangerously wrong.
Mm.
According to the World Health Organization, right? The amount of people that are dying from the challenge of antimicrobial resistance, and to explain what that means, is when your body, you're sick, you went to the hospital, they tested, they found maybe they ran across 14 antibiotics and you were resistant to all of them. How did that
Mm.
happen? You went and bought chicken, you don't know the source of the chicken, you don't know that maybe the farmer just even gave it a truckload of antibiotics before selling up because maybe the situation was not improving. Antibiotics have withdrawal periods. So the challenge of antimicrobial resistance alone is killing 700,000 Africans every year. That's more than malaria and HIV and AIDS. But are we talking about it enough? No.
Wow.
Nigeria is a hotspot. So we cannot even export anything. So, and this also adds to the fact that a lot of things are not regulated. So my thinking
I was
really
about
is,
to ask that question. I was about to ask
yeah,
that question.
yeah, a lot is not regulated. But again, much is happening in the background. I know the president of the Nigerian Veterinary Medical Association, Dr. Moses Arokoye, is doing a lot. The Veterinary Council of Nigeria. So a lot is happening to solve the problem. And that is why we must always ask ourselves, in the midst of this chaos, what can I do? In my own
Mm.
space is to ensure, because if I can make a professional more accessible to a
Yeah.
livestock farmer, then chances are that the person will be getting the right advice.
Yeah.
So until we address this myriad of challenges, and then there's the challenge of funding, which I've already established at the point of speaking, but regardless of all of this, what I usually say is that we can still take a step. So while we anticipate all of the funding and all of the structural reforms to happen, what can we do immediately? We can do
Yes.
advocacy. We can
Yes.
educate better. We can
Yes.
maybe do better as professionals,
Yeah.
and hope that sooner than later, these things are solved. Because if countries like I'm trying to remember the country now. It's not Burkina Faso. It's not Zimbabwe. Um, they are able to their livestock sector. They are exporting meat. Is their biggest industry. I don't know why the name is not coming to my head. That's their biggest industry because they'll be able to get these fundamentals right. Because without them, we must treat livestock, we must treat agriculture as a whole, as a business. It's when we
Yes.
do that the farmer knows that, oh, there's potential here. You go to the north, as they are harvesting their crops, they are selling to the livestock farmer. You come to my home in Benue, as we are harvesting it, we are burning off the chaff. Context. So those are the things. So it's a tall order, but like I said, we must ask ourselves, what can we do so that you layer the solutions as you go? Yeah.
Wow. Wow. This is really, really, really insightful session here. So my next question at this time is, you've worked with over 30,000 youth and counting, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so from your work with that population of young people, what mindset shifts would you say are most crucial for young Africans to sort of have that will enable them thrive within agriculture or the agri-tech space?
Right. So this is a very difficult conversation to have because for most of the opinion I hold, I call it opinion because there could be superior arguments, and this is me speaking from a place of experience.
Yeah.
I think the problem we have, aside from the terrible policies that sometimes we have had to encounter with on the side of government, is a mindset shift for young people.
Mm.
Regardless of the challenges, and I'm not saying, I'm not excusing the terrible leadership of governance, whether at the federal or the subnational levels. But what I would tell to young men is that if you understand the power of your mind as a young person, everything changes for you. Not because money comes into your pocket, but you instantly know when to leave the table, especially when there's no value to be communicated. And as young people too, we must understand that the developmental journey of the African continent is an intergenerational affair. We're in
Mm.
a hurry. And rightly so, because somebody will say, oh, I'm in my 30s, my 40s, I have not figured myself out. It's a worry. So I can't really speak on the side of young people without also lashing out on leadership. But I will say to young people, which is my own constituency, to say that in the midst of this chaos, there's still opportunity. And since the
Yes.
conversation is on agriculture, the agriculture, I will argue any day, and this is someone who is a tech founder, technology platform founder, saying that agriculture till tomorrow stands as one of the most veritable tools we can use to address the challenges of unemployment and poverty, especially around the youthful bloc.
Yes.
I'm saying this because you can carry 10,000 young people now, push them through a structured agricultural program, 10,000 young people who have zero naira in their account, and after 1 year, you can categorically say, keeping all factors equal, that you have turned them to millionaires.
Yes.
It's one of the few fields that, when properly managed, you can guarantee an outcome end to end. So we as young people must first ask ourselves, where do I want to play in?
Mm.
Because if we say Nigeria is not working, it's debatable. There are young people who are, it's not recently that Money Point, you know, achieved a unicorn status.
Innovation. Yes.
It's not also in this our same Nigeria that there's this oil company in not crude oil, palm oil company somewhere in the south is one of the most performing stocks on the stock exchange.
I think that should be that Okomu or Presco.
Exactly. So, and then also aside from the mindset thing is collaboration. We young people don't like collaborating.
Mm.
You want to do a project, that project will cost you 1 million. You don't have it. Can you leverage your social capital to bring 10 people in so that everybody brings 100,000 and you have 1 million? You might not get the profit all to yourself, but like the saying goes, you'll be able to go far because you're going together.
Yeah.
Then we must understand that there's no overnight success. So it's you that is thinking somebody broke out overnight. The person has a story. So we must learn like that. But more importantly, we must take responsibility. And I hold nothing against those that feel their breakthrough is not here in Nigeria. But what I say is that if your problem is a mindset timber, even if you go to the best of the world, it will still show. Because every other part of the world is aging away.
Yeah.
Africa is still blooming and it's going to bloom till 2050 before our population will start declining.
Yeah.
Meaning that the world would continue to mine us. And that's where our leaders should both be ashamed and also take responsibility. Talent will gravitate to where it's appreciated.
Yes.
So if you fail to sustain the amazing brains in this country, they will keep living. So those that are patriotic enough that want to stay back, and it's not as if those that are left are not patriotic, because you must survive to be able to give back.
Yes.
So can we create environments that allow young people in the country to stay and thrive? So that when they even go to the US or the UK or Canada or wherever, it's so that they are also going to understand the system and bring it back. That was the mindset that our founding fathers had. Whether you think of Kwame Nkrumah of Ghana, to Azikiwe, to Tafawa Balewa, to Patrice Lumumba of Congo, all of these people understood that Africa needed to stand as one and think for our interest. So there's never even been a policy problem. We have so many policies, and that's why I say, before we start talking about this thing, global, can we consolidate what is happening across our continent as young people? So when we see about the signing of the African Continental Trade Agreement, beautiful. But we must put in the right infrastructure. And let's even look at Nigeria at home. Imagine me trying to send something to you, maybe in Lagos from Benue. Logistics is a nightmare.
Yeah.
So if we have not fixed some of the most fundamental elements, we should speak carefully when we're throwing out some numbers, because the policy challenge, as far back as 1980, we had the Lagos agreement that brought Africans together and spoke about an Africa that should work for Africa. Where did we go? Up until 2013, that we came up with the Africa 2063 agenda. How many young people in Africa today that you will sample that know about the Africa 2063 agenda or what it says? We're more familiar with the Sustainable Development Goals.
Yeah.
So it's I'm sorry if I'm digressing, but it's
no, it's very important. Very important.
So many of these elements that we just need to look at it from a scoping perspective, sometimes for just historical context, before we're able to narrow down at home. To say that, and this is the point I'll drive home before you ask the next question, to say that while we stay globally ambitious, let's demonstrate local context in terms of capacity. Yes. And some other African countries have demonstrated this. We see we see Rwanda.
Yes.
Rwanda is a working example that we can learn from.
Mm-hmm.
Africa was a working example at some point, really, till something happened. Something happened, and you know, and as religious people, the Bible will tell us not to wish for the former days, but it's that bad. So I think there's that urgency that our leaders need to do to match the energy. In fact, yesterday we're having an intellectual discourse here in the office, and I told my friends my opinion about the current administration, and I said one area where I feel they are failing is that it's almost as if our middle class has been wiped away. So no matter
Mm.
what you do in terms of improving the macroeconomic elements, if you do not understand the challenges that the man at the bottom of the pyramid is facing and relate to him or her at that level, it's a waste of time.
Mm.
And that is why we must define development in our context.
Like, yes.
Elon Musk, in his context, is to take people to Mars. But my mother or my brother or sister in my village, his context is to have 3 square meals or be able to go to school. So it's a world where 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 truths can coexist, and we must understand and accept that.
Yes.
Because if we don't, we'll be forcing our narrative down people's throats when there is also a valid point or a valid case that they are presenting. I'll submit at this
Mm.
point.
Wow, that's really, really good, really, really good. I think that the points you've raised, even in answering those questions, that particular question is very valid. I would say that you are probably the fifth or the fourth guest that I have had on that has just highlighted to say that we are at that point where Africans need to rise to solve African problems.
Mm-hmm.
And we need to contextualize our solutions.
Yeah.
Like things that work in other environments, because of the peculiarity and the uniqueness of our environment, might not necessarily work, except we
Mm-hmm.
actually figure out the problem in itself from the roots, like empathizing with the people at that level and then saying, okay, how can we start solving from where they are and then pull them
Mm-hmm.
upwards? Rather
Mm-hmm.
than saying, okay, we are here in the problem, but we have people that are below where we are. We have to be able
Absolutely. Absolutely.
wow. I like how you answered that question around mindset, and even like there's
Thank you.
also a part for people in governance to also play to ensure that this is happening and it happens as quick as it can. My next question at this time is: you have successfully led community-centered projects, for
Yeah.
instance, the Benway Agricultural Business Innovation Hub. Well, what would you say that kind of intervention, uh, what would you say made it a bit impactful? And also, how can such interventions be made in a way that is sustainable? Because sometimes we see interventions that they happen, and after a
Mm.
while, they sort of fizzle out.
Mm.
And it then looks as though nothing really happened. But in
You're right.
your case, for what you've done, how can such intervention process be done in an impactful way and be sustainable? What would you say to that?
Right. Thank you. This is a very important question because I made a point earlier that policy and strategy documents, there are so many out there. The approach to it has always been a problem. I think we are we are burdened with this sense of seeing results in the moment instantly. I want it to happen now. I want it to happen
Mm.
in my time. I think that has impacted. So the Benue Agri Business Innovation Hub project was sponsored by the UNDP. And on that project, I was a project officer. So I was responsible for the local team. And the context was to crowdsource local solutions to our local problems.
Mm.
If you are building a platform that will serve the farmer in the village, there should be context. the person should be able to translate. So translational innovations.
Mm.
I'm happy that we successfully deployed. The project is handed over now and it's running. But here's the lesson for anyone who is listening or cares to draw insights from this. When you are building solutions, whether in terms of government interventions or private sector driven, we must build with the end user as a building partner. The
Mm.
concept of human-centered design thinking talks about
Yeah.
putting the end user at the center. So you're not thinking as the developer of that solution, you're thinking like the user. And
Mm-hmm.
most times we're tempted to make or create hypotheses of what we assume is the scenario. Of course, as
Mm-hmm.
part of a scientific process, you will create that, but you must validate them very quickly. And one of the best ways of validating is to go to the field, talk to the people,
Yes.
ask them questions.
Mm-hmm.
Because
Mm-hmm.
I see situations where people go with solutions and saying, yes, Almighty, the one who understands your problem, this is what I want you to do. What Lumumba will call the Messiah complex.
Yes.
We move ourselves from the problem, we remove ourselves. We see that even in leadership. Our leaders will they will move themselves from the problem and they will feel they understand what is best for us.
Mm-hmm.
So we must patiently build models that if you remove the source of sustainability that was brought in, it will be able to sustain itself.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
This is
Mm-hmm.
also a mindset shift thing. To say that if you're taking an intervention, you must dissuade the beneficiaries from the get-go. That this is, in quotes, not free money or free whatever, that if you do not manage or sustain, it will just keep running like that. And this is what brings in the enterprise thing. I don't know why this country is not coming to my head. I wish I called it, but it recently also did something. They have what we call agricultural extension workers.
Mm-hmm.
They have now changed them to agricultural business advisory workers.
Would that be
Meaning
Kenya?
that I'm trying to remember, but it's something I can find and share with you after now because I remember where I
Okay.
saw the link. What these people are now supposed to do is no longer going to go and say, plant like this, do like this. It's actually going to tell you that this animal you have, do you know that aside it gave birth, is giving milk to the young ones? Let's say a goat or a cow. This milk, there's a way you can milk it and what sell in your community. So it's about the mindset empowering thing. And from that context too, we move to seeing how the people developing the process themselves, if that understanding is grounded, you can approach it that way. And we must always learn this. Any project that I hear is for everyone is for no one.
Yes.
No intervention should be for everyone.
True.
No intervention, no matter how generic, should be for everyone. You must define who you're targeting clearly. It's just like
Mm.
in business, you say, oh, everyone is my customer. Everyone is not your customer.
No, not at all.
It's the same context even for social interventions. So, and I say this because it has a lot of relevance for the bottom of the pyramid. And even the bottom of the pyramid has a business model. Because of the sheer numbers, the postulation is that if you can successfully empower them, they have certain traits that makes them open up to a market. So that's why you sometimes see a company that maybe is producing something in 5 liters will now start doing it in meals so that they're able to what?
Yeah.
Tap that market.
Get to that market.
So,
Yeah.
so I think interventions themselves should start considering the enterprise component of it. Because for Africa, or for Nigeria, or for Africa really, charity approach or donations will never solve our problems.
Mm.
So if you are coming with an intervention and the minute you take your hands away, the thing falls flat.
Other part.
And
Mm.
when you go across, you see so many interventions, all of them are just now in name because the minute the funding was withdrawn, everything fell flat. So every intervention, if it's fine to start it as a socialist intervention, which is meaning that we just want to sustain you enough to sustain yourself. So when we get to the point of sustaining yourself, then the enterprise component is brought in. And finally, the time frames of some of these interventions is not realistic. So you want to come and transform an agricultural sector and you say you want to do it under 1 year. It doesn't work. And for a sector like agriculture, growth in the agricultural space is incremental, not disruptive. Meaning that if the farmers in the village are using hoe and cutlass, you cannot suddenly bring combine harvesters and then expect them to adopt.
For them
You will
to,
just create another crisis.
Yeah.
Because a combine harvester will do the job of 5,000 people. So where are you going to now keep the 5,000 people? But if you brought maybe power tillers or handheld that would save them, maybe if they were spending 1 week in the farm, they would just spend 1 day. It means the rest of the 4 days they can use it to do something productive because so over 5 years, these 5,000 people will reduce to maybe 1,000 people who are producing the food of maybe 10,000 people, and then the other 4,000 realize that it's not as if I really just like this farm thing. I feel I should do something else because I had 4 days consistently to try other things and I found my passion elsewhere. America, 3.5% are feeding the entire population. So it's not a flex to keep saying 70% of Nigerians are farmers. The goal should be to get everybody productive enough so that we can channel our energy to other sectors that can productively add to the growth of the economy. Because production is just one layer. How about processing? Because you can be interested in agriculture, but you're just interested at the processing layer, or the agritech layer, or the fintech layer, or the connectivity layer. So everyone cannot be at the production layer. So the way to reduce these numbers is to improve more precision, but it should be at an incremental scale, not a disruptive one. Because if it's disruptive, it will simply cause more problems for people. Imagine knocking off 100,000 farmers because you said you want to use combine harvesters. I don't think it will pass. But we can be able to plan 5 years from now that we want to be able to go to that point where this is what we even the land, does it support it? We know in basic agriculture that topography is an important element in mechanization, meaning that if it is a hilly land, you cannot use machines there. So it's this handheld that will continue to level the place bit by bit till we get to that point where we have what we want. Yeah.
Fantastic. I like how you put it. I think you're one person that has put it in the most substance way for me, which is agriculture, in terms of like mechanization adoption in Africa, it is incremental and not destructive. If you just do it like that, there will be too much resistance from the people, like you said. They're like, okay, we're trying to take away our jobs from us, we're trying to take away our earning from us. So what are we going to do? So there will definitely now be a negative revolt, even though it's like a solution, but there will be a definite a negative revolt to that solution.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So I would say this is like more like a personal question to you because you seem to be doing a lot, which is how do you sort of balance, being a veterinarian, being an entrepreneur, being a project leader, while and being a family person and just being your own individual and then staying rooted at the core of your mission? How are you able to balance that? Because I see a lot of people that do so many tremendous stuff. After a while, it then looks as though they are away because they are experiencing a lot of burnout, they are tired, So how have you been able to sort of stay rooted at your core for this mission?
Yeah, so thank you. There was a time I had this opinion of work-life balance. I don't again. Let me explain. I think these things apply at different stages of our lives.
Yeah.
And the reason is this. That's why it's important to know the race you're running. If you didn't step out to start jogging with your friend at the same time, don't assume that the person you just ran past just started. Maybe the person has done 5 kilometers already. Now, what I do is I try to create compartments. I'm a big systems person. I'm big on systems. So for me to effectively accord my time, I create blocks and systems that account for them. So I can step away now for 1 month or 2 months, and I'm confident that I have a team on ground that drives the activities of Vet Konect. Maybe we might struggle a bit, but there's a system in place.
Mm.
So I try to say that if I am, if my life now is 80% work, 20% personal life, what I have to do is that for when I'm in 80% work, I give 100%. And when I'm in 20% life,
Mm.
personal life, I give 100%. Meaning in every moment, you give everything. Because you see, this thing called burnout is real.
Mm.
Your head, sometimes you feel like your head wants to explode. You truly have to step away sometimes. Because see, the sad tragedy is that if you don't create systems that allow you recharge or renew, you burn out. Worst case, God forbid, you might pass out.
Mm.
Nothing will happen. Life will still move on.
Yes.
So you must be in a good place mentally for you to continue all of the good works that you're doing. So this is me still telling you
Yeah.
what me I do. It's not really easy because there's so much demanding your attention, and you know that you have so much you need to meet. But
Yes.
sometimes you also need to remind yourself that, okay, you need to slow down, you need to rest out. And another trick is when you are in the social impact space, saying no is sometimes very tricky. You want to say yes to
Mm.
everyone. I mean, you want to be that Superman or that Spider-Man that needs to show up every single time someone is in distress.
Mm-hmm.
So that's even where you now start taking up that Messiah complex thing I'm talking about. You just want to be a fixer. Slow down. These problems, they were there before you might showed up in a space.
Mm-hmm.
You must learn to do your bit and leave the rest. That is how me, I'm trying. I'm terrible at saying no, but I'm doing my best now to do better because sometimes you say, okay, let me think about it. Even you in your mind, you know you wanted to say no. So what you did by saying let you think about it is you left the door half open. No, we'll just close it. The person will be fine. So if truly at the end of the day, your time really cannot accommodate some things, politely say no, explain why. Sometimes you don't even have to explain. Just my schedule will not accommodate it. Pure and simple. So
Yeah.
summary is that I think the work-life balance thing needs to be understood with context. There's a certain stage in your life that, and that's the advantage we young people should have. Give your best now so that you're able to free up more time for tomorrow. I think it's what has worked for everyone. There's nobody who is doing amazingly today that sat down saying that I want to go to work by 8, close at 4, or close by 2, sleep, play games, no. But because they grinded themselves out in a very strategic way, now they
Mm-hmm.
have time and they'll be able to free their schedule. So I think it's worth putting in the 4 or 5 or even 10 years so that you're able to free up time in the future. Yeah.
Mm. You said 10 years. That says a lot about you, that you are a long term thinker. And it says a lot
Yeah.
about you in terms of, yeah, it says a lot about you in terms of being able to put the bigger picture in front of you and be willing to delay gratification, because just like you said, a lot of young people feel like, okay, it's like an instant thing, like success has to be instant. I started today, so maybe by the end of the year I should be able to move around. I remember talking to having this a session with uh Jael Olivia, who's the founder of Hello Tractor. And he was saying,
Mm-hmm.
like, we've been doing this for I think he said like 11 or 12 years. And I was like, what? That's a long, like, that's like over like a decade. I was like, oh,
Ah,
that's a long time. In
yeah.
my mind, I felt like, oh, maybe Hello Tractor
Yeah.
has been around for maybe 5 years, and I was like, oh, okay, okay. So just like you said, the impact in agriculture compounds over time. It's incremental.
Mm-hmm.
It gets to a point
Mm-hmm.
where it can sort of, have that disruptive effect to it. But at the early stages, it has to just be incremental and
Mm-hmm.
just having that patience to pull through. So I would say to you that, like, how do you, okay, let's put it this way. What is like your mental model to be able to stay consistent even when it is hard? Because I feel like that's the problem that a lot of young people have. Like, oh, I'm doing this thing, I'm putting my
Mm-hmm.
best work, I'm doing everything that I know how to do, but it's not just working. Should I just throw in the towel? Should I do
Yeah.
something else? For you, I
Yeah.
believe that you also had those
Mm-hmm.
valleys and mountaintop moments. What was your mental model at those times? Because I believe that that will help every young person listening to this conversation.
Yeah.
So they don't feel like
So
it's just only me. It's happening to only me. Nobody understands.
believe me, sometimes we think we're the only ones going through stuff. It's worse for others. That's the
Mm,
first thing you want to me. We have a way of making ourselves, there's this moral superiority. We tell ourselves, oh, it has never been this bad with anyone. It's not true.
mm,
That's one. And I think for me, it's about making that conscious decision before setting off.
mm,
What this means is I make peace with myself that this is the direction I want to take. And I say to young people that the problem with young people isn't lack of energy. Perhaps it's not even
mm,
lack of hard work. It's lack of consistency. The guy says 6 months and then nothing is happening, so I will drop. Really? 6 months? You didn't hear the one that said 2 years or 4 years or 5 or 10. So they don't understand that there's a nexus between success and consistency. And that is
mm.
why if you ask Elon or Bill Gates or Steve Jobs or any of the successful people, what is the hack to success? They will not tell you brilliance. They will not tell you genius. They will say consistency. Because if you have made peace with the path that you're taking in life and you stand or you stay on it, you go 1 year. Because a lot of them, you turn back, there's no track record anywhere. And they're the same persons telling you that have done all the. And we use the word hustle in Nigeria a lot. Even if you're hustling and if you like the word, fine, stay with it. But a hustler would assume everything, like everything works as long as it serves an interest. So a hustler does not exactly have a clear direction. The end goal for the person is, let me have something in hand to keep soul and body together. So even if we want to still use the word hustle, let's add strategic hustle to it, meaning that you have said this is the path and I'm going to keep on the grind consistently. I have in 2023, I was inches close to a depression.
Mm.
I got I I had some money in my hands, and it was between getting a new car versus paying at the time for our platform to be developed and deployed, because we
Mm.
had been using our first version. So we it was long overdue. So so it was that was when I knew that on this mountain of Vet Konect, I am here till I see the end of the story. because
Mm.
because this money will get me this car. This money would get my platform live, the new platform live, but it will not do both for me. So
Mm.
seeing that I could, without breaking a sweat, it was a simple choice. It was just not an easy one, because I knew what that meant. From that time, it was last year, 2024. Last year I got a vehicle again. So I spent
Mm.
more than 1 year. And to
Without
even
it.
give you more context to this, At this time when that car was sold, the old one where I needed to now add money and buy, the last time I had depended on public transport was in 2017.
Whew. Wow.
From that time till 2023, I didn't even understand what was happening in the market as far as getting on a town service bus or using a bike is concerned. So as 2017, a bus drop was 50 naira. As of 2023, when that incident happened, it was when I jumped on the bus and then the guy was saying, let's pay. And I said, how much? The guy said 200. I said, what? So it's about telling yourself that there's something here and just make sure you're validated it and you're sure that there's something here. And saying that come what may. But that does not mean that your beliefs are 100% correct. Meaning that I'm not saying keep the door open, keep your mind open to say if there's a need to pivot or adjust your strategy, you will. This is not how we started Vet Konect. A lot has been added, a lot has changed. That flexibility is also very important. Then as young people, you need to hurry slowly. I say this every single time.
Hurry slowly. That sounds like a paradox. That it's an oxymoron.
Yeah.
Hurry
Because
slowly.
social media has not helped us. So it has not done so well for us in terms of this overnight success thing. So
yeah.
You saw somebody blue today. Look at Tunde Onokoya, the chess guru.
Yeah.
I didn't know about Tunde until last year. But Tunde's story has been around since. Yes, I didn't. But Tunde has been around since more than 10 years now.
Yeah, 2017, yeah.
So because he's now being sponsored from here to here to here, you now think, oh, I want that life. Yes, admire the life, but go back and study the process. That's what it means to hurry slowly. Because most times we're obsessed. Who do you want to be like? Aliko Dangote, oh, Bill Gates. If the man says, if he tells you to put the work he puts in, will you be able? That is what is missing for us young people. We are too superficial for a lot. And then we portray this illusion of being an ocean when in reality we just have the depth of a stream. So you see somebody, the person is like that thing. And then you start engaging and the person is damn shallow. But what you saw from afar, or what the person projected from afar, was an illusion of an ocean. And like an ocean would carry ships and cargoes and all. But a stream, even when you step in a stream, the water will barely pass your kneecap. So we need to build in silence and allow the work we are doing announce us. Yeah. As young people, we are in a hurry to announce ourselves. And what history has shown is that people who behave like that hardly have substance. This would be my advice.
Wow, that's really good, really, really good. So, can you sort of walk us through, the funding journey that helped you, stand out in winning the fellowships and grants like the Mandela Washington Fellowship or the AUTA Challenge? What were the steps? So what were the things that sort of helped you in that process and that journey?
Okay, yeah. So it still comes back first and foremost to you fundamentally. Because at the end of the day, all you're doing through these applications is telling a story. Whether it's a story about your organization or a story about you in terms of scholarships. And let me share one story. In 2022, I was selected for the Chevening scholarship interview. I made it to the interview stage. Went for the interviews and was placed on waiting list. 2022. I never got an upgrade, and then of course I was communicated that there were no extra slots, so I didn't get it. Because when you go to the interview, you're outrightly accepted, you are put on waiting list, or you're outrightly rejected. So I was on waiting list. So that same year, a friend came around And we're just talking, and then I just shared the instance, and I was just telling him that my journey on applications for scholarship has ended. I will not do it again. I was broken. You know, reminded, but the Mandela Washington Fellowship is about to close now. You should just do this. I feel you are a prime candidate with all the work you've done. True story. I opened the application there in the office, then filled it on the spot, just turned it to him. He looked at it, turned it back to me. I submitted. Long story short, I went for the fellowship. I was selected, went through, back and all. Why am I saying that? We must tell ourselves first and foremost that we are qualified before the world
Mm.
will. So now my mentality is, I was telling my friend yesterday in the office, because I got selected to move to another stage of a different application. And I was saying, thank God, this is a positive deviance from the more than 7 rejection emails I've received in the last 1 or 2 weeks. But anytime something doesn't go according to your plan, don't play the victim card. Ask
Mm.
yourself, what is the lesson? Is it that they didn't even select you just because maybe the quota is not enough and really there's no excuse? The only reason is that they can't take all of you. Or maybe there's something you need to strengthen or do better. That mindset will help you, because in this business of applications and it's highly competitive. And sometimes it's possible that it's not even the best that was selected. It's maybe the one that it's human beings that are reviewing these things for Christ's sake. So,
True.
but you must have a story to tell. You must continue to communicate it. You must share the work you're doing. And let me tell you another thing that a lot of young people ignore. Some of the biggest funding you can unlock is not even in this grants that they will apply. It's not like I've unlocked any, but I know because I've been part of these systems that these things happen and I saw it. Is to build and nurture relationships. Don't go to people only when you want something. They
Yeah.
say even big men have problems.
Yeah.
Sometimes just assume it's us only. Go find people, seek what their pain points are, and selflessly commit to supporting them without any expectation. Because sometimes we even go to people because I want to do this one so that he would recommend me. I want to do this one so that he will give me a job. No. Do good because it is in your nature to do good. Be
Mm-hmm.
hardworking because it's in your nature to be hardworking. Stay consistent and committed because it is in your nature to be that way. Don't
Yeah.
fake an appearance simply because you want to achieve a goal. Because when you don't achieve it, you become vindictive, you feel spited and all of that. So it's about first you, the impact you want to make, and then alignment with the organizations, and still know that even if you have met all of these boxes, it is possible that you will still not be selected. If you're not,
Mm.
go again, go again, go again, go again. And don't think that there's a certain color that success has. Some of it is black, some is blue, some is yellow. If your own definition of success is only blue, you see black and you call it failure. You see white,
Yeah.
you call it failure. So you must understand that we truly cannot dress up fully or be prepared for what will change our lives. We just need to have the right mindset. That even if it comes in short knickers or in a singlet or in a dirty box, we will recognize it and we will embrace it
Mm.
because we already had it in us and the opportunity just presented itself. Yeah.
Wow. Wow. That's really, really good. Really, really good. You from your own experience, you have been someone that has worked with a lot of it, a lot of young people, community focused projects and things like that. So, what would be the thing you would say to like an innovator, an African innovator specifically, that's trying to design solutions? How would you say that it can design solutions that are both community focused and commercially viable? How should they
Yeah.
structure? Yes.
Mm. So it's still the thing I said about context. Um, and with technology now, it's so easy to validate so many things. Sometimes it's as easy as picking up a phone call to call the person you're potentially trying to reach and ask if the person is willing to pay you if you did XYZ. I'm
Mm-hmm.
currently providing some mentorship for a group of 8 young people who are trying to launch their social enterprises. And one of the things I tell them is that there's a funding model for every single initiative.
Mm.
You just need to find it. Now, for something that, because you can do all the impact you like in this world, but if it's not rewarding you, I mean, because even the Bible will tell us that you know your reward is buried in your gift, and if you're
Yeah.
exceptional, you will not serve ordinary people.
Yes.
So all of these principles are true and tested.
Mm.
So you must find out from the get-go what are the possible options for us to earn from this. And that's why the frame of human-centered design thinking can come in. And tools like even the business model canvas serve as good tools for you to use. Even though it's for commercial, it can still apply on social enterprises. And then ask
Mm.
questions. Ask questions. Can you pay for this? How would you want, or if the answer is no, is there a definitive no, or it's a one that has a layer to it? That's why you must ask open-ended questions, especially when you're having this engagement. Don't ask questions that say yes or no. If you're going to go into the mind of somebody to gain context, your questions must be actionable. Yeah.
Mm. Fantastic. Fantastic. Also, this question is also geared towards just tapping into the experience you've had being in this space for a while. In your own experience, what would you say are some of like the barriers, common barriers that young people face when trying to come into like the digital agricultural space or just agricultural space, and how can
Mhm.
they sort of work to overcome these challenges?
For most, they will say financing. I used to say that, but it's not true.
Mm,
My mentor,
really?
not one, not two, and I'll explain. Not one, not two would tell me that Shadrach, money must never be the reason why you shouldn't do something.
Mm,
And being in this space now, I can also add my voice to say that you don't need money to start anything. You just need it to grow it. If you have started
mm,
it, you have already provided validation. Let's think about let's say you want to build a website. You bring a fancy budget with money on it. I need 150,000 to build a website or whatever the amount will be. One of the questions or one of the things I tell people in business classes is that budget is simply saying, give me money to do this. So money is not the end goal. The end goal is what is on the other side of it. What is the money buying? Meaning that some of those things you're saying are floating around in people. Give me money. I want to hire a software engineer. Do you have a software engineer in your network or in your circle?
mm, mm.
Give me money. I want to go and host this website. Can you find free domain platforms where you can host and validate what you're doing so that you can use it to attract money so that you can now buy a bigger host? Give me money. I want to get a workspace. Do you know somebody who you can be able to go and meet and request to use their station to work from? Or can you be working from home for now? So
Mm,
if you look at it from that perspective, it's possible for you to launch up without it. Now, am I saying
mm,
that is the ideal? No. We should have resources around us to validate. Some of the things I lament about at Vet Konect, for instance, on a daily basis is our limited access to financing because of some of the things we want to do. But we're not stopping regardless. So while I will advocate for the system governments to build structured ecosystems, in the 2023, I was in the US and I was engaging with this 12-year-old who had a flower plantation. And she had this idea she was going to get $12,000 from the Indianapolis Council, Economic Council, to test her idea.
Mm.
$12,000. There's a young man here in Benue or somewhere else across Nigeria whose idea might potentially die because they cannot access this kind of support.
Yeah.
These are the missing elements. These are the gaps. So if we're able to structure it like this, at the end of the day, support can come. But as young people, that's why I say we're in Nigeria. Let's stop bringing or doing comparisons that don't carry context. So this is our reality. What can we make out of it? So it's like we have been handed our own lemons. Let's squeeze out the lemonades from it. Not saying that no, it's apple would have wanted. If you think that way, you are able to bring out solutions that are contextual to your reality. And another thing is also finding people you can learn under. You want to build a platform or you want to venture into agriculture, who is doing it? Can you approach the person for an opportunity to learn and intern? Volunteer your time. And I know some young people will not agree with me. They'll say, well, it's money I want. But if you have not built value, if money comes, it is going against the fundamental laws of nature and productivity.
Mm.
So those are my thoughts on the matter. So yeah, I believe you can start without money, but you need it to grow. And there are several ways you can leverage other forms of capital that translates to the same outcome you're looking for. It's not
Mm.
an easy process. And that's why most times people will avoid it.
Mm. I think that you'd have to touch a bit more on that, but I would just sort of ask you like final question now, but I believe that probably in you answering it, it would require you to touch bits about how to leverage on other sources of capital to be able to
Mhm.
start out on your dream. So the question is, if you were to leave a young change maker with, let's say, three principles for lasting impact, particularly for the agricultural and development space, what would that be and why?
Three principles. Let me see. I'm guided by a couple of them. Um,
Okay.
but I would put consistency as the first thing, or
Mm.
maybe in no particular order, but consistency
Okay.
first because it's it's such a powerful hack that if you lock it in you to move on once you have figured out a path and stay on it consistently, it would always give way. There are some opportunities that I missed in 2022. Do you know they manifested in 2024?
Mm.
I could have been angry and dropped off, but so consistency is first for me.
Mm.
Secondly, would be owning your voice. This is
Mm.
very important as young people because we live in a world where a lot of people, and by owning your voice, I'm talking slash principles.
Yeah.
You must have a point at which you say, this is my terminal limit. I am not going beyond here. For
Mm-hmm.
this one, I am not doing.
Yeah.
You cannot be someone that floats around where everything they say you are a yeser guy. Never be a yeser
Mm.
guy. Be courageous to stand alone if need be. And then value people. By valuing people's
Mm.
service, I'm talking about service.
Yeah.
If you embrace the culture of service, regardless of what you're doing in life, you'll be unstoppable. Because every single reward that the world will ever give you is going to come off the stage of service. Whether
Yeah.
it's service as a business person providing a product, service as a mentee supporting a mentor, service as a social entrepreneur or a development worker, service as whatever form you can think of. There would never be a person who has embraced the true principles of selfless service that has gone home empty. The reason why most will is because they came there with a predetermined mindset that me, I'm doing it so that you do like this. If it is
Mm.
selfless, sooner than later, the universe finds a way to reward you.
Mm. Wow, that's really good. Really, really good. I like how you put it, owning your voice and just being a person of principle, consistency. You might not get it today, but if you keep at it, life has a way of rewarding you and just
Mhm.
serve. I think it's also something that in the Bible, Jesus says that he that will be great has to serve. He
Absolutely.
that will be great
Absolutely.
has to serve. Yeah, so and I think that that's very important, particularly in our generation where younger people feel like, if I'm not making money right now out of it, I shouldn't be engaging in it. It's just like, oh, the
Exactly.
money, 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 money. But there are just some things that I would say that are invaluable. Having
Mhm.
access or proximity to certain people, certain kind of information would even do much more for you than the money would most times.
Exactly. Access
So
is
thank you.
powerful.
Yes, 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 yes. And I think that that's like one of the things that a lot of young people, maybe it's just a mindset thing, are not tapping into as much as they should. Just thinking
It-
about it like, oh, beg, I beg, I beg.
we carry we carry this mindset of I don't want anybody to use me. Hello, everybody is being used. You might as
You have
well
to be
come
useful
eat
to be
or eat
used. You have
yourself
to be
fully.
useful to be used.
Now, you have to be useful to be used. I don't want anybody to use me. Me, I don't take nonsense. Really, everyone in this world is being used.
Mm,
Whether it's now in a productive or otherwise is a different matter altogether. But for someone that
mm,
knows who she or who he is, would always position to be used usefully.
mm,
Because if you call
mm.
service, another fancy word you call service is still using. So if you don't come with that mindset, and nobody wants to hang around a transactional person because the world is
Yeah.
very unpredictable. So we want people who, even in the worst of times, we can almost say they will stand with us.
Mm,
So I laugh at anybody
mm,
who say me, I will not condone it. Nah, nah.
mm. Wow. Wow. Whew. This conversation has been a an insightful masterclass interaction. I like how you not only just share your experience as an expert, but also share the main mental models that you sort of operate with. And I
Mm,
think that that's like the element that actually really brings change. Because if your mind is set to function or structure in a certain way, there's a certain way that you do your things. And because
mhm.
of doing your things that way, it invariably ensures that a certain kind of result is created. And so thank you so much for impacting that. Like, I liked when you talked about the fact that if a person's mindset is sort of messed up, even though they're in Africa, if they leave Africa, it's still their mind that they're taking
Same
elsewhere.
thing.
It doesn't
Same thing.
because the environment will not influence it as much as
Mm-mm.
what is happening internally. What is it happening internally? So I know that I said that was the last question, but this is like the final part in short. In terms of like what key mental models or mindset work would you say every young African that wants to excel within the development and agriculture space has to hold on to?
Let every young person across Africa, no matter whether you are in your worst moment, do away with the survival mindset. If
Please, you just said
if
something very, very big. Explain it so that people can understand what you mean by
if
that first. Before you proceed.
yeah, and I'll explain. You must, no matter how beaten you have been beaten by life,
Mm,
never go to that point where let me just do anything. It's this thing. This message is not for everybody, really. I mean, I'm sorry, it's not for everybody, but
it's
for
fine.
the
It's
one
fine.
that will hear me and
Mm-hmm.
understand it. we are having wealthy people in this country today who are stupendously rich, but are still carrying around a survival mindset.
Mm.
They aggregate wealth like they are in the Stone Age.
Mm.
Set them side by side by people who have gone through life and have been productive and are now wealthy. The difference is clear.
Yeah.
So, as a young person, if you work on your mindset to say that I know it's challenging now, but because I'm doing X, Y, Z, I am confident that eventually things will work out. And please do not do this in isolation. Sometimes the
Mm.
mistake is that we move and then we're just doing it alone. Let your circle know you. Leverage what social media has provided you to tell your story. And then always remember as a young person that this is your mind. It is your standard. It's your SI unit. They will not use any other thing to measure you. Meaning if your mind is empty, you can be as tall as Goliath. You are just a tall fool. But
Mm.
if your mind is healthy, you can be as short as whatever, but the world will recognize you for who you are. So knowing that, cherish networks, build
Mm.
people, contribute to people. Always ensure that you have a healthy circle that you can fall back on. Don't grow in
Mm.
isolation. It's a dangerous thing. Keep a healthy and curious mindset and not a judgmental one. Judgment closes doors.
Mm.
You think because you are ahead now, every other person is below. You think because somehow things are working, you assume every other person is lazy. You think the reason why some people are not getting it right is because they don't know nuances, context,
Yeah.
reality.
Yeah.
So don't carry that moral superiority where you think because you have made it, every other person does not know what they're supposed to do. Be curious to draw close to them to understand and also support. Because curiosity will do for you what a judgmental mindset will never do for you. And then
Mm.
finally, I spoke about process. As you go through this life, embrace process very strongly. Let process guide your approach in terms of everything you do. And in that process, learn the discipline of questions. What I mean by that is those who fix problems fix them from a questions perspective. When you
Yes.
get an answer, there's, there's no step further. Your answer has been provided. Go home. If you master the discipline of questions in terms of how you structure your engagement and involvement with people, in terms of how you understand why things don't work, in terms of how we complain a lot in this country. If you say offer a solution, the room goes quiet. Be that person who understands the discipline of questions to critique the system in a way that brings solution. I said I was going to be the last, but this is going to be the last. Always think in first principles.
Mm.
What that means is that even though your family has never had a degree holder, does not mean you cannot have it. Some people will say,
Mm.
"I've never ever had a degree holder. We have never left our village. No one has ever done this." The Wright brothers were not the first set of people to think through an aeroplane.
Mm.
In that same era, we had people who said that no invention can come after the steam ray. But
Mm.
the principles of physics existed before we came. It is
Mhm,
what
mhm.
made them make the plane fly. Whatever problem you're trying to solve, if you learn to think in principles rather than in precedents, you are halfway through your problem. That open mindset helps a lot. I'll stop at this point.
Mm. Wow, thank you so much, Dr. Shadrach. I feel like I said, this is like a full, well-rounded masterclass session. that has just gone beyond just, animal healthcare, and has just gone beyond animal healthcare and things. So, before we go, how can people access your platform? Let's say they're vet doctors, because we didn't even talk about how your platform works. If it's like,
Yeah.
oh, how people are be able, we should talk about that a bit, please. Tell me how your platform
Okay.
works. If it's just because I know how this whole veterinary thing is. There are people that cater to just like farm
Pets,
livestock,
livestock.
regular
Yeah.
home pet.
Hmm.
So just give like a breakdown how it works, how people can connect, and how why it's important for them to be part of the platform and things like that, please.
Yeah. So Vet Konect it's a digital platform. So as an animal owner, whether it's livestock or pets, if you go on Vet Konect, Vet Connect with a K and one N, you are able to access veterinary doctors in your location. You're also able to access veterinary clinics. Then we have some AI tools that will help you in terms of disease prediction and feed calculation. And then, so the process is very simple. The search button is there for you just to input your location. It filters the professionals there and you access them. So once on Vet Connect, you're not worried about the challenge of quackery and the likes. With what we are bringing up now, you're going to be able as an animal owner to it's going to work like location based. So see how you're ordering both, that is going to be in terms of proximity. So we're enhancing it to be able to do that. So the simple logic
Mm,
is you're on the platform, you search out you enter your location, you look at a list of professionals, you pick out the one you're interested in engaging in. But of course, there are several other engagements that happen outside of the Vet Connect platform. But for the core of animal health connectivity, that is how you're able to access it. So you can download our app on Play Store. The iOS is under upgrade, so we'll be putting it back up soonest. So yeah, that's how you're able to access our platform and also engage. So we look forward to anyone who, once you require animal care, that is where you should go to. Our vision is to be able to connect the entire ecosystem in a way that is very efficient and very, very sustainable. Like we say, the fundamentals of animal care go beyond just the animals. It impacts humans too. So ensuring that animals are healthy naturally translates to a healthy population. Yeah.
mm. Fantastic, fantastic. Thank you so much, Dr. Shadrach, for sharing that. Is there like a different, let's say there is a vet doctor that has not yet signed up to your platform. Is there like
Mhm.
a different platform for them, or even within the Vet Connect platform, they can become like part of it to get access so that people can get access to their service, or it's different?
So if you have not signed up yet as a vet, there's a sign up process for you to do that.
Okay.
So there are two sides to the platform. There's the user side and then there's the service side. So professionals are able to onboard. We evaluate their credentials and approve, and then you become visible. So that's how it works.
Oh, beautiful, beautiful. All right. Thank you so much, Dr. Shadrach. It's been an insightful and enlightening conversation with you today. I feel like this is like a master class. I've learned a lot. It's just good to know that way beyond just veterinary medicine, you're just a very well-grounded philosophical and entrepreneur who is really keen about the growth and the progress for Africa. I
Mhm.
am just pleased to see that. And I will say to you that the work you do is highly impactful. And just knowing fully well that you're a young person, you really don't know how much of an inspiration you are to, this generation and the generation after you, because they're going to just see you and like, okay, if Dr. Shedra could do this, there's room for me to also do
Absolutely.
big things as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I appreciate how you were very vulnerable with the things that you shared. Just bringing it home with the instances and illustrations. I liked when you talked about you were at that point where you needed to decide whether to upgrade your platform or to get a car. And I think that those are like some of the silent conversations that any person that is going through entrepreneurship in Africa gets to at some point, where it's like,
Mhm.
okay, do I really put I have the desire, I have the dream, I have the goal, but I'm working with limited resources.
Mm-hmm.
What do I do at this point? Like my
Mm-hmm.
personal needs is in
Yeah.
question,
Yeah.
need of growing this business is in question. What should I do? And you just sort of vulnerably said, at that point, I knew that I needed to do this. And I feel like that's something someone would hear and not feel like they are stupid for making that choice to go after,
Exactly.
put the business big, way beyond comfort. And just helping people see that regardless of where you are in your journey, you are not alone. There's not something you are experiencing that has never been experienced by someone else. And just seeing
Mm-hmm.
that you are living proof of what it takes to, go from one end to another. And I like how you
Right.
also talked about, the rejections that you get. Because people feel like when they see successful people, like it has always been a smooth ride for them. They've never
Ah,
had like
not.
rejections and
It's
so
not.
I'm highlighting all this. Okay, you want to say something?
No, I mean it's not. I've gone through a contest where we were 35,000 entries,
Wow.
screened down to 5,000 to 200 to 50 to 10 to 5. I still didn't win.
Woo!
Yeah. So, and I think we should tell these stories more because,
Yeah.
and that's the superficial nature of, that's why the thing worries me. Because if we don't share these things more, something major happens to your life. So I mean, and this is from my mouth to God's ears. Tomorrow now, I'm negotiating an exit for Vet Konect in millions or billions of dollars, and someone will just think, this Shadrach boy is lucky.
Mm.
There's such a story behind the journey. So we must know that success, there's a price to it, and good things take time. So sometimes you might feel like, it should be now, 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 but so make peace with the fact that the journey might take longer than you anticipate, as it always does. If except is not worth it. Except it's not worth it. Nothing of substantial impact happens just like that.
Mm.
It's just like how you're building a 10-story building. The time frame for laying the foundation is not the same as a bungalow. So it's how
Yes.
same logic to think about. Yeah.
Yeah, and thank you. I think, like I said earlier, just thank you for just being vulnerable because there are people that are like probably at their beginning stage, just hearing this, or at their maybe fifth year, and still looks like it's a struggle for them, and they are hearing this,
Mm-hmm.
then they feel like, okay, if Dr. Shredder could do this, definitely I can definitely do this. So thank you
Mm-hmm.
so much for sharing. But like you said, I think that these are also part of the stories that people should also share more, much more
Mm-hmm.
than I'm excited to announce that I just as
I,
for
I, I told
somebody that just
mhm.
want to say something.
I told my team a story about something that happened when I was in secondary school. I ran a 400 meter sprint. Um, unplanned. I won, but that was just elimination stage. And I thought I would carry the same energy and come back and win again. So when the other guys were training me, I didn't even come. Even the one that I didn't train, I won. But that day I won because I was the house captain in secondary school. So I had my house members all lining on the side and saying, house captain, you cannot fail us. So maybe I don't know where the energy came from. I shall won that day. But that was just the beginning of the race. The
Hmm.
second, when I came out for the finals, where that's one of the give me reward for. I didn't even reach the finishing line.
Hmm.
So I'm just saying that to say that starting sometimes it's overrated.
Hmm.
Just start. You find your balance one way or the other, and then you stabilize, and then you lock it in.
Hmm.
So don't beat yourself up because it didn't take off the way you wanted. If you overthink it in
Hmm.
your head, you have this paralysis, action paralysis. You not move. So
Hmm.
take off, and always remember that you must continually improve on yourself on the entire journey as you're going through. I'm talking nonstop. I was thinking I will make sure I stop at 12, so I'm not talking again.
No, 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 it's fine. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. I think for me, why I thoroughly enjoy this conversation is I like how you answer the question, even beyond the scope of how the questions were framed, and it was very, very relatable. It's very relatable to people that are,
Mhm.
especially builders, people that are within the beginning stage or even mid stage of their entrepreneurship journey or social enterprise journey. It's something that is definitely relatable to them because of what you have
Yeah.
just sort of shared with us on this conversation today. So thank you, Dr. Shadrach, for coming on. Thank you for your time. Thank you for sharing your expertise with the community today. I am immensely grateful for that.
Thank you very much for extending the invitation. Thank you so much for the work you do